and welcome back to another episode of Down with the Browns.
Let's go, baby! And return of the man.
Return
of the man.
I feel like that scene in It's Always Sunny, you know, where Mac busts into the bar and he's like, Mac's in the house, Mac's in the house.
It's about
Exactly
dang time. It's the return of the Mac. Baby.
We're all together. This is awesome. It feels like a family reunion. I love this so much.
It's been
I miss this. We gotta keep. We gotta
keep this going for sure.
Yeah, this is awesome.
And
Love
you know,
guys.
Mac's back, but you know what's never left? Breakhead news.
Breakhead news, baby.
That's right. This is Ed in Columbus with you Down with the Browns. Breaking news. According to Charles Robinson, the NFL Players Association will vehemently defend Deshaun Watson in the event that he receives a one-year suspension. If the Players Association's defense is as fierce as Baker Bros defending Mayfield, then we all need to get a good night's sleep because there will be many days of waking up feeling dangerous. Good luck, Roger Goodell. In other news, many are speculating that in the recent days, former Browns cornerback Joe Hayden has been in Northeast Ohio. That makes sense since the Cavs just released new uniforms, and during Hayden's first stint in Cleveland, he probably impacted more Cavs wins cheering from his courtside seats than he did Browns wins when he actually suited up in the brown and orange.
Yikes.
And finally, I just want to reiterate to those Browns fans that will root for Baker Mayfield to beat Cleveland in week 1, you'll come up short. This is Ed in Columbus with you Down with the Browns. Breaking news.
Oh, okay.
You're gonna come up and sure. I absolutely nothing makes me laugh more than every time, without fail, is a Baker.
I
Mayfield
love
hype show.
I love being juvenile. I admit it. That's maybe a juvenile joke. Thanks for the 4 years, Baker. But I mean, come on. I mean, look.
You gotta have some. You gotta have
some fun. You gotta have some fun.
For the listeners, I have on the iPad behind me the Browns versus Bengals Week 9 blowout in Cincinnati. So I'm juvenile as well. I'm going to be playing that the entire podcast. It's on silent, but just the highlights are glorious. So,
anytime that I think about that game, I just think about Cincinnati fans like just crying in the corner with their Who Dey shirt on, just screaming, "We were in the Super Bowl. That was your Super Bowl." Yeah, it was our Super Bowl, but you're still crying, and you don't have.
That's true. So. That's true, and you're going to have to deal with Denzel Ward from now on. Shout out to Jamar Chase and his 84 overall rating.
Hey, Mitchell with the
audio jersey. Hey, Mitchell,
right.
Nets.
Much love for the trenches.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Gotta love Joel.
Mine's up here. That's
the Batonio. There's the Batonio jersey. Christian's pointing to the
there it is.
jersey right now.
yes, sir.
There we go.
You know what this episode's we're breaking down. It's the good old D-line. And you know, we had to wait for Mac to come back for that.
We can't talk defensive line without having Mac Buffalo.
Yeah.
So
The man who
we're gonna have a good time. It's gonna be a
I
fun
was terrorized for weeks before the draft. Everybody was just like, if they don't draft defensive tackle, Mac's gonna have a meltdown. I don't know how many videos that I made and send to my friends of just me screaming into the phone, just in frustration. So yeah, I'm always ready to talk about defensive line. Like I've done so many articles on it, and it's definitely a position to watch. Coming into camp this year.
I was one of those people. I wanted wide receivers, so I'm. This is not my episode, but I want wide receivers. So you might hear my grumbles underneath my breath. So bear with me.
Well, I mean, I would have loved to seen Mac's face watching the draft when they heard Martin Emerson's name get called instead of a defensive tackle.
I may or may not have been told by the person next to me that the reaction was not warranted. That I need to grow up and calm down. So yeah, it's very, very valid on your point there.
Mac, would you say though that your reaction when they took Martin Emerson, the exact opposite happened when Perion Winfrey's name was called?
I was ready. I was ready to go through a wall. I mean, he was a guy that I wanted in possibly like the second and third round. I mean, I was making arguments for him at 44.
A lot of people were.
Yeah.
Well, just how strong he was at the Senior Bowl, and I mean, yes, college tape is great. But that was kind of like, especially for these mid-round guys, the Senior Bowl is like a great evaluation, especially for like offensive and defensive line, because you see those one-on-ones, those pass set reps. And he was getting into guys' faces. I mean, like just as a taking away like any kind of just stats or analytics, just looking at him, I mean, you know, I hate to use this term because I hate when people use it, but you know, he definitely has that dog in him.
He got that dog
Yeah,
in
he
him.
got that dog in
I
him.
knew Christian would
I mean-
go crazy.
Ooh.
When you're scrapping a little bit in just pass setting one-on-ones, like I was like, wow, like he's ready to play. Give me that guy.
Wait, and by the
Yeah.
way, if you're wearing a single digit number as a defensive lineman on defense,
Oh yeah, that's earned. That's earned. They don't give those out.
They don't
That's
give those out.
earned.
You gotta be ready and pumped
You got to
up.
be a dog.
You gotta be a dog.
You gotta be a dog. I mean that single digit, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know you're turned up with that.
But
So let's get started for sure.
let's get started on it for sure. You guys want to start with D tackles or defensive edges?
Well, I say start at the edges because I mean more is known there, and then we can dive into kind of the position battles that we have
Yeah.
at defensive tackle.
Well, the defensive tackle, I don't. It's making me depressed talking about it. Actually, just doing my research on it, it made me a little depressed. But
Oh,
we're
no,
gonna
so
save that.
Wait. So you're
I've
telling
been
me
there. I have
So hold
been
on,
there,
hold on.
Mac.
So you're
Listen.
telling me that after looking into the stats and the numbers,
I
that
have
the
been
defensive
on this
tackle
defensive
position
tackle
can train.
train. I wanted 2 picked in the draft.
No.
I
I
wanted
think
2.
what Mac is saying is that I think at face value, just looking at the names on paper, that you can say that, oh wow, no, we're in trouble. When it comes to
No,
that
I knew
interior
we were in
defensive
trouble. I've been banking the
Christian
Browns
has been
since
banking
free
for it. Christian has
agency.
been-
I wanted Akeem Hicks. I wanted the Dominican Sue. I
Eddie
want a bunch
Goldman.
of people. Eddie
Yeah.
Goldman.
You were talking about him. But I wanted my wide receiver.
Anyways, we'll just go straight into it. You know, we've got the best edge rusher in the game.
Mhm,
Myles Garrett.
mhm,
Doesn't get better than that.
mhm.
At Steelers fans. You know, franchise leading sack in sacks. Can't talk today. Was 16, broke it last year. So how we feel about having Myles Garrett on the team, boys?
I'll let you know what? I'll start it off here. I think third in the NFL in sacks last year at 16. Obviously, that game versus Chicago when he had 4 sacks on Justin Fields.
4.5.
Kind of, you kind of have a welcome to the NFL moment for Justin Fields, and you're hearing everybody cheers. And it felt very, very good. Honestly, it seems to have such a playmaker like that on defense. One of my favorite plays from him, obviously, was the scoop fumble touchdown. Also, the Pro Bowl, kind of had a little bit of an assist from T.J. Watt, touchdown there. I think just having such a talented guy where the league knows that one player on your team who's like, man, especially, what was he? He was a 99 overall on Madden last year, right? They gave him all the gold and cleats and had a party for him. It just felt good to have somebody who was 99 overall, some recognition for the Cleveland Browns. It felt really, really good. There's not enough you could say about him. Honestly, he played one of his healthiest seasons last year, playing all 17 games. He hasn't played every game in the season since 2018. So I love Myles Garrett, a fan favorite. I'll let Mac go into details with him, and Mac and Christian go into details. Ed, what do you think about Myles Garrett? What can you say about him?
Well, okay, look, I don't get paid to break down and give stats. Okay, I can give generalizations based on what I like about Myles Garrett. They drafted him number 1. And one of the knocks on Myles Garrett was when he came out was how interested was he going to be? Is he only going to play for like 7? There was always something they kind of questioned his passion about playing in the National Football League. That was one of the knocks on him. And you know what? I look at him, he's even more athletic and more of a freak than we had even initially thought when we drafted him. He keeps getting more freakish every year. And the thing I like about him is, like, I don't know. I feel like he gives it 100% to train to be Myles Garrett. But I don't know if we're ever going to get 100% of Myles Garrett, and I don't think that's a knock on Myles Garrett because I don't think that guy will ever get to a point where he couldn't ever just get better because he's such a natural freak, and I think that's such a good. So it really comes down to it. As long as he keeps playing at this high level, and honestly, he keeps getting better and better and better, and everybody's talking about beeps going off, right? I don't know what's going on right here.
Because you're on the money.
Yeah, I'm on the money. That's what it sounds like to me.
What's going
but
on?
my point is this: I have so much praise for Myles Garrett as an athlete, but the fact that he is as great as he is at that position, because I feel like there's other things he could do. I want to see him in his career catch a touchdown pass. I think there's just so many things that you can do with him, and I would love to see him use in other ways. I don't know. He's the kind of freak where even like to block the kicks and things. Just everything about that guy. I don't think there's nothing he can't do on a football field. He is like a Red Grange kind of player, and we are so lucky to have him in Cleveland.
Yes.
And I guess that's really what my little rant here is, just a Myles Garrett tribute to how great of a football player he is. And honestly, I watched him, with the Cavs and Kevin Stefanski. I hope you didn't see that, because I think Myles Garrett might have unretired in Vegas, and he looked good with that new Cavs kind of thing. I like the Cavs new uniform. Shout out to Cleveland Cavaliers. You did a good job. And that's all I got. And I'll let Mac take over with his expertise. But good stuff, Myles Garrett.
Mm-hmm.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yeah. So I mean, Myles Garrett, there's no. I can sit here and just spout stats all day. I can say, okay, before Myles Garrett came into town, a guy named Clay Matthews Jr. Had the all-time sack record. It took him 19 seasons to accrue those kind of numbers. Myles Garrett, all he needs is 5 sacks next year, and he'll break it in less than 100 games. So that in itself is pretty impressive. But when you have a 2-time back-to-back first team All-Pro edge rusher, it makes everybody's job on the defensive line so much easier, because at most you're going to have, 7, if you count 2 tight ends, maybe 8 guys on the line of scrimmage. So when you have a guy like Myles Garrett that is getting double teamed, and in some plays triple teamed, still getting to the quarterback, that frees up everybody else and makes their job a hell of a lot easier. And then now that you bring his best friend and running mate, Jadeveon Clowney back, that just makes it. And it's, to me, it's almost, I don't want to say pointless talking about edge rushers, because they're just so good and they're so consistently solid, across 17 games with Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett. And I've said this before, but they are tied for the most pressures among pass rushing duos. It's us, Hayward, and Watt over in Pittsburgh. And then Hubbard and Hendrickson down in Cincinnati. So, that makes the job a hell of a lot easier for some of these other guys. So to have a guy like Myles Garrett, now the only knock that I could possibly put on him is just, I would want him to just be a little bit more vocal this year. Now, granted, he did get into his spats with Kevin Stefanski and Joe Woods. But I really do think that he needs to kind of make the voices concerns like that, because especially when you're a 2-time All-Pro, you need to be, and granted, when he was this up and coming star, he was one of the younger guys, but now he's in his 5th year. So, it's 6th year, I'm sorry. But I would like him to just take a little bit more of a leadership role, because he is that kind of quiet guy, but that's what makes Myles. So that's really the only thing that I would say to improve, because he's already a fantastic player. I can't wait for him to break the franchise record next year. That's going to be awesome, considering the fact that when the team drafted him, first overall, everybody was saying, "Oh, you need to get a quarterback." The fact that you're drafting a defensive end in such a strong quarterback class, he's the only first overall pick in the past several years to stay on the same team. So what's that saying? So Myles Garrett, absolute superstar.
Could have got Deshaun Watson in that draft, and wait, we got Deshaun Watson now.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
So, well, you kind of get there. But go ahead, Christian. You wanted to.
But he's as you guys have said, he's the epitome of what you wanted at the number 1 pick, because you know what, PFF ranked him as the best edge rusher last year. He was number 1. That's just what he's going to be. That's what he is. He's the best defensive edge in the game. You can debate stats, but he's not out there playing linebacker like somebody else, getting the extra tackles, getting.
Would that player happen to be over where there's 3 rivers? Is that what you're?
Yeah.
Akira Shore.
I want you guys to know this, that our lake is greater than their 3 rivers.
That's right. That's
Greater than
right.
Three Rivers.
Oh yeah.
Facts.
Yep. But you
Well,
know,
I'm just saying, who has the last playoff win at Heinz Field?
That's right.
So
Baker
The
Mayfield.
Cleveland Browns.
Shut up,
Mayfield.
Ed.
Baker Mayfield. Actually,
No.
yes. Technically,
who
yes.
scored the first touchdown for that team? Huh?
Oh well,
that was actually Carl Joseph
Yeah.
Exactly.
because he recovered the fumble in the end
He
zone.
got us the dub. No, I'm kidding. Actually, MJ Stewart had a game that
He did.
Yeah, he did.
dude,
Yeah.
he had
Yeah,
two
he did.
picks, right?
He had that. No. You're thinking because it was MJ Stewart, and then who was it? I know
Well, Ben
Taki
threw
had a
four.
pick, and then as well as Sheldrick Redwine. Oh, it was a tipped ball. Porter Gustin.
Porter Gustin. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so
I knew
he-
he
Matt,
threw four.
Christian, why don't you want to give Baker Mayfield credit? Those screen passes to Chubb and Hunt or whatever,
Listen,
those
bro.
were beautiful.
Well, he looked
Yeah.
off Minka Fitzpatrick and hit a Jarvis Landry in stride for that
Yes.
slam over the middle. So
I'll give him credit. He played a good game that game.
Yeah,
I
he,
don't want to be.
he did.
you know,
Baker balled out that game. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna diss on him, but I don't
Mhm.
want him just to get that.
I don't have
No,
any
our-
cheesecake this week, Manny. So I got to say all nice things about. Baker.
Yeah.
If
You
I
gotta
say
say
one bad thing. I got to eat cheesecake. So
no
I don't have any.
slander.
So I'm riding with 6 tonight.
Riding with six. Riding with six, man.
But last year, speaking of that team near Three Rivers, the guy who threw the shoe, Jadeveon Clowney, he's a dog. Mac was pounding on the table for the Browns to sign him for the 10 years that he was unsigned with the Browns, this free agency. But yeah, how excited were you guys when you saw the thing pop up on Twitter? Jadeveon Clowney has re-signed with the Cleveland Browns.
We were going so back and forth on it about waiting for him because everyone knows that Jadeveon Clowney is on Jadeveon Clowney time when it comes to the offseason. He just does that. And to be able to get him back, obviously having such a great season last year. He had 9 sacks last year, which is the most that he's had in his personal career since 2018. And in 2018, he was playing right outside linebacker, to Christian's point about being a linebacker and being able to get that many tackles and that many sacks. And so to be a defensive end and play across side of Myles Garrett, it definitely helped his career out. Having 0 sacks in Tennessee the year before. And obviously at an older age at 28, last season, it kind of showed you that, man, he does have a little bit left in the tank, especially playing. I don't know. I think it just rejuvenized his career playing with Myles Garrett. So getting him back was crazy. And I remember hitting up Mac, which I'm sure he'll talk about. Mac was going crazy when the Browns signed him. So I was ecstatic just because it was kind of like, I'll be honest. I thought because we got Jadeveon Clowney, I was like, all right, cool. We're going to get ourselves some more wide receivers. So that's why I was, you know what I mean? I just wanted my wide receivers. I like my wide receivers. So I was ecstatic. But, Ed or Mac, whatever you guys take over, that's how I felt.
Well, I'll be quick because like I said, I like him. We played well. You know what I like about guys? They're labeled as malcontents and kind of disgruntled players throughout the league. He went to Seattle, and what was that one? He didn't even have a sack or something one of those years. I mean, he really didn't do much. Yeah, and he comes to Cleveland, and he was excited from day one. The bond that he formed with Myles Garrett, you can tell that those two are like, it's nice that Batman and Robin out there on the defensive line. And it's fun. And what we talked about, the defensive line, as much as I don't think it's a big of a deal as you guys do, there has to be some weakness of a position group on your team. And I don't know if the D-line is as weak as what it's perceived to be by many Browns fans. I mean, maybe it's not as strong. It's not the strongest suit. I get that. But I think they're going to surprise a lot of cats this year. And I think that with the rotation, and the reason why is because Jadeveon Clowney is the glue that holds this defensive line together. You already have Myles Garrett, this generational piece. All you needed was another running mate with him. And then it's only 2 positions you got to fill, the defensive tackle. I know we got our issues, but we'll figure it out. And if you rotate them and stuff, we'll be okay. And but Jadeveon Clowney and that hit you put on that kid from Michigan back in the day, we'll never forget that. So you do your thing, boy. You do your thing.
Yeah, I mean, Jadeveon Clowney, he just adds more speed to the defensive line, which is great because as much as you want your defensive ends and your edge players to be such great pass rushers. You also want them to defend against the run as well, and then set the edge, meaning that, if somebody's running your way, you don't want them to get outside of you.
Yeah.
So, with how
Marquise
fast
Richmond go.
Clowney,
Sorry.
well, and I mean, even with that too, is, he was also a little bit skinnier. And Jadeveon Clowney has this kind of lanky frame, and you'll see this a lot with the 3 players that the Browns drafted this year along the defensive line: Alex Wright, Isaiah Thomas, and then as well as Perry and Winfrey. A lot of these guys are long. They have these wingspans to where they can either get up under somebody's pads or go up and over. So, with Jadeveon Clowney, he finally gives Myles Garrett something that he never had in his career in Cleveland, which was just somebody to play very well alongside of him. I mean, his best teammate was Olivier Vernon, but Olivier did not really kind of turn on the gas till Myles Garrett was out with COVID. So, you're finally given somebody, and teams have started to kind of realize this too, that you need a pass rush duo. Famous example, look at TJ Watt. Would TJ Watt have the amount of sacks that he does and put up the numbers that he does if he did not have all-pro defensive tackle Cameron Hayward playing right next to him? Yeah. So, it makes, and just like kind of how I was saying earlier, you have Myles Garrett that are drawing the double teams. You're getting one-on-one matchups across the defensive line outside of Myles Garrett. So all you need is somebody to win the one-on-one matchup, and Clowney can do that, and he showed you that last year. Now, sacks are kind of misconceiving, especially in the stat line. A lot of teams and a lot of GMs are looking at pressures now. Forcing the quarterback to make mistakes, kind of those hurries, those knockdowns, because great a sack's great. But if you force your quarterback to force the other team's quarterback to make a bad decision and throw it over the middle for an interception, that's even better. Yeah. So, Clowney loves this situation as well, because he's playing alongside with Myles Garrett. He's getting those kind of one-on-one reps, and so he's boosting his stats, and he's going to end up getting paid. I mean, he's gotten paid more here in Cleveland than he would have anywhere else, and he knows that, and that's why he signed here. Yeah, and that's why he signed here, and that's why he's coming back on incentives, because he knows that this job's going to be a little bit easier playing along Myles Garrett, and with those stats comes the money. So, it's a marriage that works great both ways.
Really quick, Christian, before you go, I have a quick question. Obviously, speaking of Jadeveon Clowney's contract, it's a 1-year, $10 million. It's kind of question for the room. I think I brought this up earlier, but it's still like, I'm so glad. Don't get me wrong. I'm so glad we have Jadeveon Clowney back. But then I feel like in 365, we're going to be having the same kind of concern next year, right? Like, we don't know how long Deshaun Watson is going to be suspended for. So if it's like 10 or 12 games, will people call it a wash? And then Jadeveon Clowney, we're going to be asking for this whole team to come back next year. Does it concern you that next year, you know what I mean, he's still a free agent, or you guys are shaking your heads?
Well,
no, go ahead.
Well, we got this guy who we drafted, who's 6'7", who's a little bit bigger than Jadeveon Clowney.
Well, technically 6'5" at the combine, but yes.
Yes,
he's 6'7".
We're
going to give him 2 inches. He's listed at 6'7". And, from UAB, our boy Alex Wright. He's right. We got the right guy at the right position to fill the shoes. If you've noticed, the guys with the last name Wright do pretty good in Cleveland.
Jarrett Wright.
I'm old, right? But yeah, so it's good to hear. It's good to hear that you guys have that kind of like,
the funny thing is that the more and more, and I did a draft profile on him way back, but looking at his play, it's almost like he's a very raw Jadeveon, because just like how Christian brought up, the same size, kind of same lanky wingspan, but he's more of a solid like run defender. I mean, throw on the tape against Georgia, and he is putting offensive tackles like into the dirt. He's a very just strong physical pass rusher. A lot of his issues just stem from him not playing football as much. I believe he didn't start playing football until
in
his
high school.
sophomore year of high school.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And you can tell because his tackling mechanics isn't the greatest, and in terms of his pass rush skill set and his moves, not very polished, but he could still flip his hips and go.
Yeah.
His pursuit in the open field is something to watch, and he's got a very high motor, and fun fact, can pass rush on the interior. So, he's that kind of replacement. Now, the Browns also made a very smart move in free agency, and they picked up a guy by the name of Chase Winovich, which I don't know how people forget about this guy because he was 10th in the league in pressures 2 years ago. Now, he had an injury-riddled season, but, a lot of the arguments go, well, he couldn't play well for Bill Belichick. But Belichick's also very stubborn, and if you don't fit into his system, he's going to send you off.
Well, he tried to
And
use him kind of like
as a
how
coverage
Pittsburgh-
guy.
Yeah, they tried to use him as like a TJ Watt type player. He's not like, I mean, he's all right in coverage and stuff, but he's an edge rusher.
I mean, when you have 37 pressures in a season and below 10% on a missed tackle rate, like there's no point in backing him off the line of scrimmage. If he's really good at something, just let him play the position. And I mean, the thing that Chase does very well is that, he doesn't have the best get off, but his technique is so clean. And the way how he can flip his hips and get up under, the punch of an offensive tackle is just something to see. And that the rip move in football is so simple, but it's when a player really knows how to use their leverage, and his shoulder pad level is just something to see. But it's just beautiful to watch in terms of his pass rush. I'm going to be very surprised if he doesn't put up better numbers than Takk McKinley did last year, because I truly believe now I got a lot of flack for it. You can't replace Takk. Takk was, and to Tack's credit, he was a very, very quick, a lot of burst off the line of scrimmage, and he played the run very well. But Chase Winovich is very good at rushing the passer, and when you have Myles Garrett, who's going to draw double teams, you're going to have Jadeveon Clowney, who's going to have a lot of attention. Then you're going to have Chase Winovich on this outside here, and he's going to get his one-on-one matchup with an offensive tackle. And if they can't move their feet and they can't get deep enough in a pass set, he's going to go right around them and turn them into a touchdown. So Browns did a very good job covering their butts in terms of next year for when Jadeveon Clowney's contract is up.
Yeah.
So did you just admit that they're going to move Jadeveon Clowney on the inside?
That's what I was going to ask you.
Pass rush situations, not on first down. Okay,
that's what I heard. First down.
Okay,
Mac
okay,
is
okay.
here for 3 edge rushers on the line on first down.
Well, that's what I was curious. I was curious at what down you were talking about, because obviously there's some inside guys that have some question marks. I think that's the most. I think Ed kind of touched on it, saying that a lot of Browns fans are concerned about their defensive line. And I think
Manny. I agree with that, but here's what I just thought of this. Okay, so when you're making fun of Mac and saying about putting 3 edge rushers on the line. Look, I come from the old school, okay, when it was the real dog pound back at Municipal Stadium. And then after that, before Belichick got good at 94, 95, we had a thing called Death Row Records. You put your killers on the line, Manny. You put your killers on the line, and you go get that quarterback, because honestly, I don't understand this defense line. I understand you want to stop the run and stuff, but these guys are so skilled and stuff like that. I want the guys that my 4 best horses out there that, if I tell them, go kill that quarterback, you can do that. Because I believe that nowadays these players are so versatile that, they can stop the run or whatever. You can always have a linebacker like JOK. I don't know. That's the thing. The Browns have so much speed from sideline to sideline and definitely north and south. So it's just like, I'm not too worried. You can do these exotic things. You want to go crazy with 3 edge rushers on the line? Let's go do it then. Especially on a 3rd and 13. Let's go kill that guy. I don't know. That's how you play. That's how the Ravens play. That's, what I'm saying? You got to play aggressive. We finally got the guys to do it, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
It's gonna be very fun to watch. And what I was surprised to see was the Browns were 12th best in the league when it comes to rushing defense, about yards allowed over the entire course of the season, which was very surprising to me, because I don't know why, but I headed into the offseason thinking, man, the Browns are really, really bad at rush defense. And I'm not saying that the Browns, that Joe Woods, don't care about offenses running football. I don't think that's the case. But I mean, when you see this pass-happy league and you kind of see the way this division is slowly moving toward with better quarterback play, and we don't know exactly what we're getting in Pittsburgh yet. I think, and these running backs are much more athletic and play the pass a little bit more. Obviously, with Najee Harrison in Pittsburgh and a little bit of a splash from Joe Mixon, we already know how they do in Cincinnati. But going after that quarterback and killing him, I really want to see that more. I really want to see these guys run around and be afraid of this Browns defense on the line. So I don't know who I interjected. I'm sorry, whoever wanted to talk about that. I mean, moving forward, obviously,
Listen,
I don't know if Christian.
we're gonna rule the jungle this year like we have the past 3 or 4. Browns sweeping.
Sweeping, yeah.
With
I mean,
or without Watson.
Sweet.
Without Watson. I mean,
See a smile? I'm dead serious.
Is that serious? There's no smile on Christian's face right now. Sweeping the Bengals next year.
Sweeping the
it out.
North.
Well, I mean, they did make a significant upgrades around the offensive line, but it's still kind of little wishy-washy in front of Joe Burrow, and they're already having. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to this, but they're currently in contract disputes with their best defensive back. Jesse Bates.
Yeah.
So you know. Jesse Bates.
They're lowballing them. I heard, they're lowballing.
So not only has
the
the talks for a new contract fallen out, he hasn't even signed the franchise tag, so he doesn't have to show.
To be honest with you, and if you talk to Bengals fans, they're going to give you the runaround and say, "Hey, you know what? We know what we're doing in house. Mike Brown knows what he's doing, and all this other stuff. You know, we're gonna keep everybody."
Apple,
listen, yeah.
I don't get it.
Exactly. It was the same thing with Lamar Jackson. Listen, it sounds like to me that, you know, if Jesse's saying I'm not going to play under the franchise tag, you know, listen, hey, I don't know. They have some things to figure out. They got Lyle Collins on the offensive line, big upgrade. Where's he from? Dallas? Is Lyle from Dallas? Yes. Collins from Dallas. So, you know, obviously giving some protection to Joe Burrow, and he's been doing really well running around for his life, and he had a great season last season. But, you know, it's going to be a different story. Bringing in more guys on this defensive line. So,
well, he's had 3 knee injuries.
Yeah,
in 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's just, I mean, that's your star quarterback, and you know, eventually you're going to have to pay him. You're going to have to pay. Higgins. You're going to have to pay Jamar Chase.
Well, have you saw the heat with Tyler Boyd though? Like he's wanting more targets.
He's one.
And then you have to worry about possibly. And let's be honest here, Tyler Boyd. He's a top 10 slot receiver in the NFL. He's that good, and they're not going to be able to pay him. So I don't know. it's looking very possible that you know, there might be a little quarrel in the jungle, in the locker room, and you know, among the GM and the players. So.
They're fighting for money. It's cool, but man, you know, it's no offense, but it's harder to work as teammates when you realize that Joe Burrow's success, well, he's got to get paid. And then, you know, if I have success, I'm going to get paid. And then you got to think the quarterback's the first priority. And then, you know, what they're doing with their, you know, defense, it's like pay your players. And there's only so much. That's why I like the Browns. You know, you can say what you want about them, but they seem to always just make it work. They go out there, they find a player they like them, and they've been retaining their players. And I wouldn't be surprised. I know a lot of people want it, but and I'm going to drum this up because I know Mac will definitely like this. But get Kareem Hunt redone. The kid wants to stay here. Give him another 2 to 3 year deal. That's what we all want in Cleveland, and let's get this thing going.
Get him a 12-pack of pens. Like throw him,
sign him all.
Party. Get him a cake that says, "Hey, we want you to retire a Brown." Oh man, Kareem Hunt, and this wasn't just said by anybody, but future Hall of Famer Joe Thomas described Kareem Hunt last year as being the best offensive weapon on the team, and I believe he's still top 3, even with Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper coming into town. I mean, there's a reason why near the goal line he's in the backfield. And no knock on Nick Chubb, who is the best pure runner.
Obviously not. Yeah, obviously not.
Who is Kareem Hunt. Something other than 6 other running backs have ever done across their whole entire career. But, you know, there's a reason why that Kareem Hunt is in the backfield in the red zone, because he can catch the ball really well through screens. He can run routes better than most running backs in the NFL. And then he's a power back on the goal line. I mean, what's that infamous picture?
He jumps and he leaps and he does it.
Not only the hop of the air, but when he put fear into that Steelers linebacker, what was his name? Spillman?
Spillane.
Yeah, Spielman.
Yep.
Yeah, it was Spielman. And you zoom in, and this guy has the fear of God in his eyes because
Yeah.
he knows that he just got his ass ran over in a playoff game in his own turf by a guy named Kareem Hunt. So,
Yeah.
yes,
Well,
pay the man.
Go ahead, Christian. Your point with the
you
Kareem
see,
Hunt jersey.
you see this? You see that?
Sign-
That is a
sign
signed
alternate.
jersey.
Signed alternate Kareem
That's a
Hunt
signed jersey.
Christian.
That's what the
Good point,
contract
too.
extension should be. Signed.
I kind of moving back to what we were talking about because I have a little bit of a question about a guy named Jordan Elliott on our interior, moving slowly into the interior. Now, a part of this regime for Andrew Berry for the past 3 years of this draft class, I think it's been Jordan Elliott, then it was Tommy Togiai from Ohio State, and then it was Perrion Winfrey this year. It's Jordan Elliott's third year, right? Or third or fourth year. Third year. Or fourth year, going into the NFL. I think it's time for us to see some splashes. It's time for – I was listening to Locked On Browns with Garrett Bush and Jeff Floyd, and Garrett Bush brought a great analogy to the forefront. He's great with analogies. And he said, you can't eat out all the time. You can't just get these players in free agency, bring some guys in, pay this person, pay that person. Every single year you're paying star players. Get that guy, get this guy. Sometimes you got to eat at home. You got to make what you have in the fridge. And if your parents were like my parents back in the day, and when I said I wanted McDonald's in the backseat, they said we got McDonald's at home, right? It's time to do some home cooking with your guys like Tommy Togiai and Jordan Elliott. And Jordan Elliott, it's your time now to start doing some home cooking with this guy. And we have to see what he can do. We have to see what he can do. We saw some splashes from Jordan Elliott, and he's 24 years old, so I'm really excited for him moving forward. But are there any concerns? I think this is kind of weirdly, you could say this is kind of like a prove-it year for Jordan Elliott. Would you say?
Oh, it absolutely is. And that's part of the reason why the Browns haven't gone out and gotten a defensive tackle yet, because they really do not know what they have.
You don't know what you have in the fridge.
They don't know what they have at the nose position. Now, there's some guys that play three technique that are kind of the smaller size defensive tackles that we have that play over the guard. But two guys that play over the nose, Jordan Elliott and Tommy Togiai, they're complete question marks to this organization. Now, they will. I mean, you ask any coaches, especially Chris Kiffin, the D-line coach, and he will rave about Jordan Elliott's work. Well, he lost 20 pounds, put the 20 pounds back on. Now he's kind of sitting at like 300. So we don't know if he's got his weight right. With that is he getting stronger? Is he losing strength? How quick is he off the ball? So it's almost like Jordan Elliott's been kind of feeling himself out for these past 2 years. But to your point, Manny, it's make or break for him, because if he goes out and just kind of has a meh season like he's had the past 2 years, to where he's a rotational guy, he's getting maybe like 40, 50, snaps. He's more of a special teams guy around the line. So, you don't really know. Now, Tommy Togiai showed some flashes, very few. But the problem with a guy like Tommy Togiai is that he's a great hard-nosed defensive tackle. You cannot move him. And I mean, he didn't magically, just put up 40-something reps at 225 at the combine. He is massively strong. This human out of the Ohio State University is very, very strong, very big, very kind of like typical huge nose tackle for the Browns. But the problem also goes, how well does he move laterally down the line of scrimmage? What is he in a reader front? Can he is he quick enough to beat a center off the ball kind of thing? So it's just, you don't really know out of and that's the part that they want to figure out the first couple weeks of camp, because I can imagine if they're not seeing what they want to see, they're going to nab one immediately. Now, there's back and forth reports about Ndamukong Suh. Does he want to play here? Does he want it there? I mean, there's some kind of interest. Don't.
Oh yeah, where smoke there's fire. Because the Browns, if that doesn't work out with those two, they're going to need somebody. And Manny, I'm glad that you brought up the run defensive stats last year, because looking at it, you're saying, okay, well, they were 12th in the league. That's not that bad. Well, take from after the Bengals game on, giving up roughly about 130 yards per game.
since a couple years. What was the study done? I want to say I saw a study from like 2012 that teams that rush for more than 100 yards a game, their winning percentage increases by at least 50-60%. So down the stretch, they did not play well against the run. And yes, like obviously with the Browns offense that they have, it's very high powered. It's going to score a lot of points. So teams are going to play from behind, which is why they've invested so much time, energy, and money into their secondary and into their pass rushers. That's great. But what happens when you play a game like against New England? There's a reason why they kind of got battered around a little bit.
We stopped running the ball, though.
That is true.
That is true. Running the ball,
and not to interject you, Mac, because I understand you have been saying this like a lot lately when it comes to the back half of the season with the rush defense getting worse progressively in the back half. But my argument is, if you look at compared to the front half of the season, the overall score, right? It's the number on the scoreboard. Obviously, you had Cincinnati or what is it? Chargers, when they put up 47, or Arizona when they put up 37. But I'm looking at some of the scores for these dubs at the back half of the season, and maybe even the losses. What is it? 16-14 to Las Vegas, 24-22 to Green Bay, 26-24 to Pittsburgh, a 24-22 win against the Ravens. You lost to the Baltimore.
Now, what's the time of possession?
Yeah, I know
16-10.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's and also that's true too. That's true. Yeah. That's true as well. But my overarching point is, they're kind of obviously they're giving up more rushing yards, but they're not scoring as much. And time of possession might have a little bit of something to do with that, which is to your point. But I mean, obviously as a whole, the defense looked much better than they did in the first half of the season. Even if giving up more yards.
Oh, absolutely. And again, to reiterate it, I mean, if the Browns are scoring 25 plus a game, we're not going to have to worry about.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know what I mean? So it's just now with the Browns' luck, and how almost every single Browns game goes, unless it's a complete blowout, it comes down to those final seconds, and we got to stop somebody from getting a first down. I don't know. It's just something that makes me nervous. Now, granted, could Jordan Elliott finally figure it out and he's going to be our starting nose tackle and he's a solid guy? Absolutely. Yeah. And going back to the defensive tackle room, they have some guys that it's kind of like a mixed bag of things. You have a guy that Taven Bryan, who we had Jeff Lloyd on months ago talking about this guy when we picked him up, who's an athletic freak. Great rushing the passer, but he looks a little lost sometimes in run defense. So it's definitely something that gives you worry, but also they still really don't know what they have. So it would not surprise me. And just like how a lot of people said, it would not surprise me if they, gave it 2 weeks in camp and they're like, wow, we might be in trouble here. Let's just grab at least one more guy.
Yeah.
Which I think that'll end up happening anyways. I mean, you obviously need the veteran presence. We really don't have a veteran defensive tackle other than like Sheldon Day. I mean, the rest of them have only been in the league 4 years. I mean,
breakhead news. When it comes to Jordan Elliott, he's entering his third season. So
third season, okay.
Exactly.
So he's still and that's the thing about it. If he was entering his fourth season, I think a lot of us would be done with him by now with his mediocre play. But he has only played 2 seasons, and I think that if they feel that he's got the talent, obviously the front office feels like he does have talent. Now it's time to go show it on the football field. So let's see what the kid can do.
Well, I mean, he's 24, so I mean he's still relatively young. But still, I think we need one more vet. I want a guy either like maybe a Sheldon Richardson, guy knows the system. A Malik McDowell. We don't know that situation just quite yet. If he'd even get suspended or what pertaining to that. Like, I just want a guy that I know that knows the system, can go out there and ball. So.
Yeah, but it's so funny. You guys keep saying let's bring in these guys like Malik McDowell and all these guys, but these were the same guys that gave up the 130 yards last year.
It was.
They were about it.
I don't know.
So funny enough, breakhead news. I actually agree with him. So and I will never say this again, but I actually agree with Ed on this one because as great as Malik McDowell was, he did miss 17.5% of his tackles last year.
Yeah.
So he was great of getting through the line of scrimmage, but it was still almost kind of looking at a rookie in terms of his mechanics, kind of breaking down, trying to tackle his pursuit. So now funny enough, Christian, when you're bringing up guys that know the system, that Sheldon Day is still here, and I believe that his veteran presence will help, considering the fact that he was with Joe Woods during that Super Bowl run in San Fran. And he's put up some decent rotational numbers when he's gotten the time. So, they do have a little bit of a fail-safe there, but yeah, I would still like to grab just somebody, just an extra body to, compete.
I just want somebody different. Just give me fine, Matt.
Yeah.
That's
Somebody
somebody that wasn't here giving up 130 yards a game.
What about Larry
Somebody
Ogunjobi?
new.
He was here, but he wasn't there last year.
Neither was Sheldon Richardson.
Give somebody. Yeah. Well, I think to your guys' point, obviously, maybe the Browns are kind of waiting to training camp. Maybe you see what you have in camp, see who has a good camp, see who has a very poor camp, and I think that you kind of make your estimation and your determination at that point whether you need to bring somebody in. But I think at the end of the day, it's really like the Cleveland Browns, Joe Woods saying, "Hey, let's finally see what we have with these guys that are in this room." I mean, we've had them in our back pocket for a while. Also, you want to see exactly how good Perion Winfrey is, because we kind of got him for pass rush. So we don't know exactly, not that maybe he can, I don't know, but maybe we don't know exactly what we have with him in camp. We haven't talked about Perion Winfrey, and we can shift the gears to Perion Winfrey, that dog out of Oklahoma, because I know Mac is dying to talk about him, and I'll let Ed give it a little bit of excerpt. Bring back some of the Sooner fans who left us to go to Carolina. Bring a little bit of back of that love with Isaiah Thomas, and we'll get to Isaiah Thomas as well. But Perion Winfrey, definitely, I want to see some sparks, hopefully in camp, because he could solve a lot of our issues, right? A lot of these questions we're having, he could solve a lot of them. He can have the answer. Shout out to Allen Iverson. But I think really Allen Iverson, but Allen Iverson, the answer. But I think that depending on what he looks like early on in camp, and maybe even early on in the season, if he starts to show a lot of camaraderie and a lot of cohesiveness with Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney, we could see him a lot out there, and we don't have to worry about this issue moving forward. What do you guys think about Perion?
I think that's the goal. You drafted him pretty high. I mean, I know higher, lower than what we thought. We were talking, like, to Mac's point, there are times in our mock drafts I had him at 44.
At 44, I had him once or twice.
I was going to send out tweets saying that he's related to Oprah. You get a sack. You get a sack. You get a sack. Because Perion Winfrey is coming to town. I'm all for it. He's a dog. I love it. And I do think hopefully the vision is to have him play. Like, I remember Michael Dean Perry in the early 90s for the Cleveland Browns. And I look at this cat, and it's like he's got a lot of the same skills. He's a guy. I love him because he's flamboyant, and he's a dog. And that's just what this defense needs. If Myles Garrett isn't going to be that guy that talks and he does it with his action, that's fine. But I got people like Perion Winfrey that's not going to afraid to run his mouth and get into the opposing players and stuff like that. I love it.
I feel like Perion's gonna be the guy that actually barks at the competition.
Yes.
Like, he's gonna be on that line
Seriously,
actually
and you want
barking.
We want that. We haven't had somebody like that.
When was the last time that the Browns had a defensive player that had that much attitude and like in a good way? Because you want your guys on defense to play with a little bit of passion. And
yeah.
Again, Myles Garrett is great.
He's great.
He is a generational pass rusher who I think is going to be a future Hall of Famer. I mean, he's going to have his name in the Browns Ring of Honor easy. Mm-hmm. But he's also kind of a mild-natured guy, and it kind of takes him a little bit to get fired up. I mean, Perion Winfrey, the minute that he got drafted by the Browns, he was already barking.
I'm afraid, guys. I'm afraid of Perion Winfrey. I'm afraid that the other players might need to get tetanus shots. He might bite somebody. He might actually
bro, if he actually he rips off, like, instead of like ripping off the other team's helmet, he rips off his own and just bites somebody's ankle.
I'm afraid. I'm actually afraid of that.
It wouldn't surprise me, but here's the thing. I loved that pick. I think it was probably one of the best picks in the draft, because the fact that it fell that far is criminal. Just looking at his tape, because it's kind of crazy, because you watch this guy play and you're like, okay, well, he's got multi moves in the pass rush. He's very violent with his hands. He resets the line of scrimmage, literally pushing guys into the backfield. And when when offensive linemen are trying to jump set him, as in they get out of their stance in a pass set and try to lunge forward and attack him, he'll just go up and over with a swim.
Beautiful.
So, 5.5 sacks, 11 tackles for loss. And he's a big body, 6'4", 300 pounds. And I'm sitting there. I was like, okay, well, he's got to have some weaknesses. Why did this guy slip to the 4th round? Well, he had a little bit of Larry Ogunjobi, situation to where he was playing out of position. They just put him at nose tackle because he was just the biggest guy there and he was their best player. So why not stick him over the center? I didn't think that was such a wise move because he has issues in terms of over penetrating. Now, you could say, oh, hey now, really? But he's taking guys 2-3 yards in the backfield, and that's great and all, but there's also sometimes to where he can flow too far in a reader front to where he gets washed and the running back's able to cut behind him. But I think that's really just kind of something that can be taught out of him because that's not really just technique. That's just more or less just getting a feel, in a reader front and just kind of reading your keys as a player. So especially with how good Chris Kiffin is as the D-line coach, I think that can be coached out of him. But I'm calling this right now. Perrion Winfrey will be starting middle of the season easy because especially with what kind of talent and the drive that this man has and the physicality that he brings to the position. It's a no-brainer for me. Rookies that are going to start by the middle of the season. Perrion Winfrey, it's a lock. Go ahead, lock it in. And remember this take, because if I'm wrong, go ahead, roast me for it. But I know for a fact I will not.
Well, I mean, you go back to even when the season ended, a lot of the Sooner fans and even executives were kind of like, okay, if Perrion Winfrey stays, there's a possibility he could become a 1st-round draft pick next year, 1st or 2nd-round draft pick, because they're like, okay, he's still kind of younger, and he may elevate his game next year at Oklahoma. He's a dog. He's going to go show it a little more, but getting him in the 4th round, I think it's just going to help the Browns with that cap. Instead of having to pay the 1st round, get to pay the 4th. So
we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
So we're 52 minutes in. You guys want to play a little dog or pup?
Let's do it.
Let's do dog or pup for sure.
Pringles.
Pringles.
Dog or pup.
So flavor. There's 64 different
sour
flavors.
cream and onion.
From the can. I'm gonna say dog because I usually dog them. You give me a can of Pringles, that whole sleeve is gone. You can't. It's up about the can, man. It's up about the can. I actually should give Pringles in general a pup because they don't make it wide enough for your hand to get in there. So I think it's something that I'm not a big fan of.
Unless you're Kenny Pickett.
Unless you're.
I mean, is there any show that we've ever done where we haven't dogged Kenny Pickett?
No, dude. We're going to usually dog him years after his career's done.
I'm going to answer your question, Christian, and I'm going to say Pringles. They say once you pop, you can't stop. But here's the problem I have with Pringles. The hand thing, like Manny points out. But here's the thing. Ruffles have ridges. Those are dogs right there.
You get yourself some ridges.
So you're saying they're pups?
I'm saying Pringles are pups.
Got a dog and a pup.
If you give me the pizza flavor or the original, sure, yeah, absolutely, pup. I'll crush a whole can. It'll be like a magic trick. You blink, snap your fingers, it's gone. Come on, but sour cream and onion, absolutely not, pup. Can't do it. It's just I don't know. Sour cream and onion doesn't. Now, granted, will I still eat it? Absolutely, but I eat most things, so that's no comment.
I'll still eat them too. I'm not gonna put it.
But it's just sour cream and onion is a very overrated flavor in my opinion. It doesn't even pop off the aisle. I'm not even looking twice at it. It's just kind of bland.
I will say
dogs. Okay. I'm tired of the disrespect for sour cream and onion. Pringles, yes, the can should be a little bit bigger. But you know what? There's the reason. There's a hole on the top so you can pour it out. You know,
That's true. That's true.
You
That's true.
just
If it comes in the can, I want to. I want to eat
put
it.
it on the hand. You know.
That
I
kind of
have
makes
a
a lot
dog-
of sense.
I have a dog or pup for you guys. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So ratings for EA Sports Madden 23 came out today for a couple of positions, and a wide receiver from Cincinnati, one named Jamar Chase, was not in the top 10. Not only was he not in the top 10, rounding out the top 10 was Amari Cooper at a 91. Jamar Chase was rated an 84, then tweeted out, I'm going to use this as motivation. Sour Cream and Onion is untouched.
Beanie,
So good.
choose another
Thanks for
flavor,
Beanie.
Big Dog.
Beanie,
That's
sending
like-
a
Beanie knows
comment.
what's
Ice
up.
cream cup and ordering straight vanilla with no toppings. Like, do yourself a favor
God.
and go venture out a little bit. You know, just
It's
try
a
something new.
classic. It's like classic
Sour Cream and
rock.
Onion can
No,
be good
the
at any
original
Yes.
brand.
is classic.
Classic.
The original Pringles.
Classic.
That is true. That is very true. Original Pringles are classic. Pizza flavor is very good. Barbecue is addicting. Barbecue, you'll definitely
Bro,
hear.
just get a pizza.
But what would you guys say? Would you guys say Jamar Chase's rating is an 84? A dog or a pup?
That's a
He's a-
pup.
He's
Oh,
a
that's
what?
That's a
That's
pup.
He's an 84.
84.
He's an 84.
Whoa, I did not know. Okay,
My-
I think it should be at least 88, 89.
My thing about EA ratings is that people don't realize that a lot of these are created from the individual stats that they add in. Like, they're not presetting these overalls. You know, they go through, you know, and like what's their speed out of 100, what's their catching out of 100, and then kind of that total number brings them to that overall. And you could look at Jamar Chase's season. You could say, okay, well, he got locked up here and here, didn't show this trait there and there, but like, when you look at this man's play and you're saying, okay, he's not one of the top 10 or top 15 best wide receivers in the game, like what are you doing? The whole point of EA, the whole point of Madden is to bring all these players from the field to the video game, and you kind of recreate some of those moments. So of course you're going to make a guy like Tyreek Hill the fastest player, and nobody can catch him from behind. So, you know, looking at, I mean, there was a play that somebody put out there. I want to say it was Jamar Chase against the Ravens, where he broke literally 3 tackles all at once, spun out of it, caught himself, and then ran an additional 40 yards to the end zone. I mean, that does not say an 84 rating. You know, he's got lightning speed, and his you know, his awareness, his elusiveness, and as well as his you know, what's the word, beating, you know, man coverage off the line. His release is
yeah.
very good. So, you know, like, I don't know how that happens. It's almost like EA just wants to just put out a game that just pisses everybody off, so that they'll talk about it, and then they somehow end up making more money from it. I don't get it. I don't get mad.
Would you like me to go through 1 through 10 really quickly?
Yeah, no, do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
So number 10 overall, 90 is Amari Cooper, Cleveland Browns.
Okay, solid.
Keenan Allen, number 9, 91 overall.
I wouldn't put him at 91, but he's okay. You know, he's good. He's
Yeah,
good.
He had a good season last year.
I wouldn't say he's
he's
better
had
than
a
Amari
bunch.
Cooper and Jamar Chase, though.
I think they're
Good,
the
very
same
good
overall, right?
What's that?
They're the same overall, right?
Who?
Amari Cooper.
No,
No, he's a
Keenan
90.
Allen was 91.
I thought Amari was a 91.
Yeah, so there's 2 that were released. One's official, one's unofficial. The official one from EA Sports Twitter is actually
Gotcha.
Amari Cooper at a 90. So that was my mistake. I said 91 from the unofficial. Keenan Allen, 91. Number 8, Terry McLaurin at 91. He's tied with Keenan Allen.
He's not.
Number
Who's his
7,
quarterback?
Mike Evans, rating 92.
Okay.
Mike Evans.
Okay.
Number 6 is Justin Jefferson, 93.
Okay.
Number 5, Stephon Diggs, rating 95.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Number 4, DeAndre Hopkins, rating 96. Then we're going to get in our top 3 now, okay? Number 3, Tyreek Hill, rating 97. I
Okay.
expect that to low-key go down with Tua, no offense.
Yep. 93.
Then number 2, Cooper Kupp, 98. And then
Okay.
number 1, you guys could probably guess.
Javante Adams, right?
That's
Javante. I love Javante.
Devontae Adams,
Devontae.
overall,
I said Devontae.
99, member of the 99 club. So that rounds up your top 10 wide receivers. Yeah, no Jamar. No, honestly,
That's his twin. His twin's just good, just as good.
Javante.
Javante
The
Adams.
Browns are actually looking to sign him, man.
Yeah.
So get hot.
Yeah.
Javante Adams. Which is crazy.
Javonte.
The number one wide receiver room in the NFL, Cincinnati Bengals. They don't have any wide receivers in the top 10 presently constructed. But to Mac's point, I mean, honestly, we don't exactly know what goes into this. They're just probably going off their stats, and they're just putting a bunch of stuff in there. But
do you think they're trying to make it more like it wasn't wide receivers? It was more Joe Burrow?
that's what it's going to be interesting to see those quarterback ratings, right? Because now if Joe Burrow is anything less than a 90, I think less than a 93, right? I mean, there's going to be insult to the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't know. Maybe they didn't want to make the Cincinnati Bengals too good in this game. I don't know, but we'll see. I think that's definitely a disservice. But
well, continuing on with Dogger Pup. Pineapples on pizza. Dogger Pup.
I don't want to get killed for my answer because I know that there's.
I'll just go ahead and say it's a pup. Those pineapples do not belong on pizza. They belong underneath the sea. SpongeBob lives in pineapples. They don't belong on pizza. Okay, keep it like that.
For me, it belongs on pizza, and I like it. You know what? This is why I'm saying I'm going to get killed for it. It's that sweetness of the pineapple with the saltiness of pizza sometimes. Sweet and salty and sweet. You know what I'm saying? Not sweet and sour like a Sour Patch Kids, but salty and sweet. I like pineapples on pizza. As an Italian, it hurts my soul.
Jeff.
Jeff, it hurts my soul. You know, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to put them on there, but it's something about it. It's something about it. So for me, I kind of like it. It really is. You get a little bit of that sweetness with the pineapple. Hey, I'm in the minority here, but that's okay. That's totally okay.
That's just what we're doing nowadays. We're just going to play God with our food, and we're just going to put on whatever that we want. Go ahead, put blueberries on your steak, put grapes on your burger. Who cares? Because it's America, and you can do whatever you want. But it does it not make it? I don't know. Thinking about pineapples on pizza and comparing fruit with hot food that's not a pie, it just makes me uncomfortable. I'm going to be honest with you. I just look at it, it geeks me out. I can't figure it out. What am I? Is it going to be kind of mushy because it's on top of a cooked dough? What's the situation there? Is it? Yeah. What's it? Yeah.
What's next? Jeff says, "What's next? Fruit Loops on pizza, Manny."
Well, funny enough. So not to go on my whole little rant, but I saw this thing on the internet, and it absolutely drove me nuts. And it's here in Cleveland. It's called Happy Dog, and the things that they do with these hot dogs and the stuff they put on it, I legitimately witnessed a person. I don't know whether I don't know who the worker was, but I saw a POV of somebody going bun, hot dog, cheese, Fruit Loops, and it is one of the best selling things on the menu. And I don't know what to believe in terms of where our humanity is going. So people just want to play God with food, and I don't get it.
Beanie says, if you get it at Domino's, why not? But if you go to a 5-star pizza place, you're tripping. That's true. If you go to a really good pizza place, that Happy Dog should be banned. Thanks, Jeff. That's awesome.
It just made me legitimately angry. Why are you even trying these things? It was almost like it's like the weird kids during your school lunch that would mix all the food up and they wouldn't eat it.
Oh God!
They were just being weird. It's almost like all those kids grew up.
They'd add chocolate milk into it.
Yeah, and I'm like, what is wrong with you? Just throw it out.
Yeah.
Just throw it out.
They grew up to be Steelers fans. That's what happened.
I'm one of those people when in doubt, when it comes to toppings, just throw more meat on it. When I get a salad, it's mostly meat. It's chicken, it's ham, it's this, it's bacon. You know what I'm saying? We'll throw some lettuce in there to pretend it's a salad, but it's a meat tray. On your pizza, when you're running out of toppings, you think pineapple is an acceptable choice, think to yourself, do you have ham? Do you have salami? Do you have pepperoni? Do you have chicken?
The messed up thing is that pineapple's coming from a can.
Yeah,
That's not fresh pineapple, big dog.
It's like off Stranger Things, man.
When in doubt, throw more meat on it.
Throw more meat on it. I want a deli. I want the deli. I want the local deli on my pizza. I like my favorite pizza topping is chicken bacon ranch. So I love myself.
Okay.
It's very good. It's very good. I love it.
Hear me out. Right? Okay. I need a dog or a pup on this pizza. This is my go-to. There's a little pizza joint right down the road from me where I work.
Okay.
But hear me out. Okay.
All right.
Get the thin crust. They put the barbecue sauce on it instead of pizza sauce. It's just barbecue sauce. They throw the cheese. You get bacon, chicken, pepperonis, and depending on how spicy I'm feeling, either banana peppers or jalapenos.
That's
Can
a
you
dog.
fold- Can
That's
you
a
fold that
dog.
pizza at that point? Can you fold it?
Oh yeah.
Man, oh
Christian,
man.
that's a dog.
That's a dog. That might be
You,
a dog.
you just gotta wait till the cheese like melts or not melts, like hardens just a tad, you know?
Can you give a shout out to that place, that restaurant?
Oh,
What's
yeah,
it called?
it's called sauced.
Sauced.
It's local.
All right. Shout out to Sauced in Kentucky.
You guys are gonna hate me. You guys are gonna hate me.
Okay.
I'm gonna say pup. I can't.
What?
Wow.
So fun
Wow.
fact.
Wow.
I don't like
He's a
barbecue
Buffalo
sauce.
guy.
I don't. I don't like barbecue sauce. I think it's just kind of like it. It's just a smoked ketchup.
All right, Matt is
Thank
now
you.
off the podcast.
I knew it was coming too. I knew it. I was like, I can't
We
just
gotta
say
go
that
this
not
time. We gotta-
barbecue
Hey, listen,
because
hey,
I know
wanna
because Manny was talking about it earlier with the chips.
ban that.
Oh my god, I'm gonna
We're
get
starting a
so
ban
much-
Mac
Listen,
movement.
we're gonna.
But it's just like I don't know. It's just like barbecue. It's just like not that like the barbecue sauce isn't that good, man.
Everybody
like,
tweet out
there's
Okay,
sauce
listen,
better.
listen,
Matt.
listen.
Tweet out
Barbecue
pictures of
sauce
barbecue
down
sauce.
here is different.
Mhm.
Okay, it's not the same as up there in Northeast Ohio.
Mhm.
It's
So
different.
it's not made with ketchup and Worcestershire sauce, or
It's made with
Worcestershire
love.
sauce? However-
It's made with love, Mac.
I love it. I love it.
Made
That's
with
awesome.
love and care.
I love it.
So
Hey, and as before we wrap up the show, I want to say a shout out to Jose Ramirez for the Cleveland Guardians of the home run derby tonight. I have no Boston Red Sox in the home run derby, so shout out to the Guardians.
Jose,
Bring home-
Jose.
Bring home a home run derby trophy, J Ram. So shout out to him.
and I think that's a great way to end the episode. Go Browns.
Go Browns,
Go
as
Browns.
always.
Go Browns.
Go Browns, baby. Woo, woo.